I'm Ariana Grande.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Erivo.
And you're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
Visit bpm.fm to discover more.
Hi, I'm Joanna Gleason. Welcome to the Theater Podcast with Alan Seales.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Theater Podcast with Alan Seales. That's me, I'm your host, Alan Seales, and today we're sitting down with the one and only Joanna Gleason. You may know her as the Tony Award-winning Baker's Wife from Into the Woods, or from her incredible performances in I Love My Wife, The Real Thing, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, and of course so many more. But beyond her legendary stage presence, Joanna has had a fascinating journey, one that's taken her through Broadway, film, TV, and now back to the stage in her latest project, We Had a World. In this episode, we dive into her evolution as an artist, from acting to directing, and now even writing, and the deeply personal connections she finds in storytelling. And we talk about the challenging landscape of theater, the impact of social media, and what it really takes to sustain a long and fulfilling career in the arts like the one that she has obviously had. Plus, she shares some wisdom on navigating expectations, the power of connection, and why she believes, listen up, that failure is essential for growth. I agree. Stick around at the end, of course, for Plot in 60 Seconds and all the other fun questions that I ask. Don't forget to follow me on social media and support the podcast on Patreon to watch video versions of the conversation. And now, everybody, please enjoy this episode with Joanna Gleason.
Here you go. 1, 2, 3.
Today's guest is a Tony Award-winning actress, maybe best known for her iconic performance as the Baker's Wife in Into the Woods, which earned her the Tony Drama Desk and Outer Critics Circle Awards. Her career on the stage has also led to several more Drama Desk and Outer Critics Award nominations and wins, with Broadway credits that include I Love My Wife, The Real Thing, Social Security, Nick and Nora, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, and Sons of the Prophet. On screen, she's appeared in films like Boogie Nights, The Wedding Planner, different movie, The Wedding Planner, as well as TV favorites like The West Wing, Friends, and The Good Wife. And now she returns to the stage with We Had a World, which is a deeply personal new production. Joanna Gleason, welcome to the Theater Podcast.
Thank you so much. Nice to be here.
Thank you. And you just opened the show a couple recently.
This
as we're
last
recording
week,
this.
we opened for previews. The official opening is in March, but we've had a full week of previews, and it's taught us a lot, and it just keeps affecting people really strongly.
Well, we're going to get into the show more specifically soon, because I love Andrew Barthelman too, just like one of the greatest humans, one of the greatest humans in general. And I love shows that are personal and make you think and make you walk away in ways and think about life in ways that you didn't normally do it beforehand. But your life in general has kind of been this, is it more like a pendulum where you've been swinging back and forth between TV and film and then stage and whatnot? Or is it just...
It's not a pendulum. It's kind of where I feel I can do the best work when given the opportunity. It's also opened up in ways because I finally got a lot of support and trusted myself to start directing, writing, and directing.
Right.
So there's been a great deal of that in television and now in motion pictures. And so, somebody said, "Oh my God, we haven't seen you in the theater. Did you take a break?" I went, "No, I did not. I did not take a break. I've been incredibly busy, but I just waited now in my life for the right part to come along, and this was it."
Well, what were you doing that made you want to shift to the writing and the directing, the more behind the scenes stuff, which I want to say arguably is a lot harder than just, showing up and reading somebody else's script that they've already put into production?
Yeah. Doing a show 8 times a week is, in and of itself is pretty tough. But yes, writing and directing a feature film is the hardest work that I've done. I think I kind of went to it because I reached a certain point in my age in my career where the kinds of roles that came my way were not exciting. And I have a very kind of low threshold for, boredom and irritation if I don't get to I wanted to guide the narrative. It's why I wrote 2 solo shows that we did at 54 Below. I wanted to just be the one guiding the narrative. This is the story. It goes like this. And I'm the one to tell it. And so I had a good time doing that. And then writing and directing a motion picture. This is the story I want to tell. These are the people gathered around me, brilliant talents all around me to help make it come true. And then along came this play. And I said, this is a story I want to be part of.
So the the diving into the writing and whatnot, that it's something because years and years ago, I had the fortunate experience of interviewing Matthew McConaughey for his book Green Lights, and I asked him, I was like, why did you want to write? Why not just stick to movies and things that in general you're known for, right? And one of the things he said to me that sticks with me that I feel maybe is applicable now is like that when you're writing, when you're creating, as you just said, you get to tell your own story. You're not giving your performance and then letting it be reinterpreted through an editor, through a director, whatever, So now as you're writing and you're creating your own thing, is that something that, one of the things that really appeals to you about writing and directing is that like now you tell your story.
You can tell your story,
yeah.
Yes. And I agree with what he said. You can tell your story, but you can also tell other people's stories. And what I did in the motion picture was tell a story of somebody who, though elements were of course, pulled from my life, there are disparate characters who I have observed in my life. And I wanted to just get into the humanity of what are other people's stories that don't get told. Also, you said you just went by quickly in saying doing what you're known for doing.
Right.
And I'm sure actors like Matthew and many, many others, and I feel like I don't want to always do what I'm known for doing just because it's lazy and easy for you to know what you're going to get. Mm-hmm. Audiences have gotten systematically lazier because they want everything right there, and they want it they want you where they left you last time. And they don't want to learn you or any character that isn't something they already know from you. And it's a shame. Theater, people who come to the theater are open to that happening, by and large.
Yeah.
They want to see stories that aren't theirs, but of course the takeaway is, of course, there's something they can always take away about their own life. I think that audiences have changed. The attention spans have certainly been re-quantified. Like I think you get 7 seconds to get an idea across, and then you're lost. And you just think, well, that's the tragedy of this time, is that nobody's listening to each other.
I like the professional analytics. And if you have a business page on Instagram, it's like it gives you the statistics for how many people listen past the first 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Like that's the important mark is 3 seconds.
Yeah. And I don't want to swear, but
you can swear. It's okay. So when you're creating your own work and bringing it to creative teams, like often you need a studio and you need financing and you need marketing teams and everything. And in what you were saying about audiences themselves wanting to pick up where they left you, is it the same with sort of the creative side too? Like the studio heads are like, well, Joanna doesn't do that. She does this. I'm not going to fund her for this.
Yeah. I mean, I was blessed in that I had a producer make my feature film and write a very hefty check. And it was one woman, Laura Sudrow, and her production company. And I thought this will never happen again. And it doesn't happen. Like this. I was just blessed, and we all got to tell this story. And actually, we do have a distribution deal, and it will be out sometime this year. The Grotto is the name of the movie. And we won at festivals. We won prizes. Okay, I plugged it. Put that aside. Yeah, everything's an algorithm now. Our country is being run on what makes money for me and not taking care of the citizens of this country. And that's where we are. What makes money for the people who already have money and who just want more money? Mm-hmm. And that's business. It's just businesses. And everybody overlooking the fact that businesses are made up of people. So that's where we are. It's tragic. We took our eye off the ball. Again, it goes to attention span. It goes to the fact that if you need to know everything in 3 seconds, you're missing the real information.
Yes.
You're not going to go looking for the real information. You don't have the patience to learn the real information. And that's where we are.
And there's so much information, though. That's part of the problem, is how do you stand out among a sea of content that's mediocre at best, right? And so your whole trajectory in life, though, and I want you to tell your story of being a child, and I know you grew up in an entertainment household, right?
But I didn't. I grew up with my famous dad, Monty Hall. God bless him, being famous for Let's Make a Deal publicly.
He created Let's Make a Deal, yeah.
He created it, and it's still on to this day. But he never brought it home. We didn't have a showbiz house.
Really?
He had a lot of friends, writers, mostly TV writers, and a couple of politicians, and mostly people in the humanitarian sector. Dad raised a fortune for charities. that was what he really wanted to do. He raised money.
Wow.
Yeah, but there was nothing at home that was show busy. Do you know? He and Mom just sort of said, that's where we go and that's what we do. And you go to school and you clean up your room and you get good grades and you do this and that, you know.
Well, seeing that, I guess, outside of the home then, if they didn't bring it home, which I think is really respectable of them. Like they tried to, it sounds like, give you a completely normal childhood.
Yeah.
As much as you can when, you know, you're successful in the business. How did you latch on to that and decide to move yourself into theater and start performing? Did you first want to do TV, film, or was it stage in the beginning?
Stage from when I was 10 years old. We had moved a great deal. We moved from Toronto to Mount Vernon to New Rochelle. Later we moved to Studio City, California, and then finally the house that, you know, my sister was born into and they lived in for 55 years before they died. It was about moving around a lot that I discovered it's hard to make new friends and leave, but there's something about being in the theater where you all come together in an intense way, even at 10, to put on a play, to become somebody else. You know, they don't have to get to know you because you're just going to be this character and we get to play together. And for me, it just sang to me. I mean, my grandmother was in the Yiddish theater in Canada, you know, and Dad had sung on the radio and Mom had been a child actress and a model. And so it was kind of, you know, it was kind of there, but basically it's a family of storytellers. And that's what was passed down. Sitting around my grandparents, listening to them tell stories from their life, and then listening to Dad tell the stories from his life, you think nothing binds a group more than sitting listening to a story. Mm-hmm. And that's what theater is.
Oh, I 100% agree. I've said this so many times on this podcast is during the pandemic, one of the things I missed the most was the shared journey of sitting in a room full of strangers, literally sometimes thousands and thousands of strangers and all feeling pretty much the same thing at the same time. Mm-hmm. And feeling that validation that like, oh, I'm sad. I don't want to cry. Oh, wait, I hear somebody else crying. Now it's cool for me to cry. And now I feel good because I'm letting all my emotions out.
No, it's true. It is a kind of undercover of darkness, you know, in a theater, the permission to be more connected to what you feel. And people are so strange about showing their emotions. But the theater is a place where even if you don't react, we're in a very small house. At the City Center, mm-hmm. Stage 2 for Manhattan Theater Club. Beautiful little theater. I was there, I don't know, in 1989 I did a play there. It's the first show that's opened since the pandemic in that space. It's tiny. Yeah. I mean, you know, there are people right here and there are people right here, and we hear the ones who cannot help but reveal what they're feeling and the ones trying not to. And, you know, and the ones, and it becomes this kind of organism of, it's respectful. That's what it is. They kind of respect each other's need to express.
Huh. I'm letting that sit for a moment. Respect each other's need to express. Yes. Yes. And I think, I mean, this is why I'm so worried about funding for the arts being cut and everything. It is just when you're walled up in a corporate environment where everything's litigious and you're afraid to say or express yourself, you know, the arts, the theater, even watching a movie, just sitting at home with like a group of friends mm-hmm. and experiencing this stuff together, it brings you together. It gives you a sense of humanity and understanding for people who are different from you. And, mm-hmm, you know, mm-hmm. we could go off on that.
But you know, time. But the cutting money for the arts, because they don't think it adds or enriches or saves the lives of their young people in school, which of course it does. They don't want you to be smarter than they are. They don't want you to be more emotionally intelligent. They don't want you to be, this word woke is so stupid. They just don't want you to feel things, which would include empathy, mm-hmm. which would include decency, by the way, and kindness. It doesn't want you to see villains portrayed that might accidentally remind you of some of the villains in power now. It's just censorship. It's censorship and fear. They want to keep a lot of their base fearful and angry, and they want to point to people like us as the problem. And you get, well, it's worked. It's working. You know, it's worked. Yeah. But it's their kids. It's these kids. I've been teaching also on and off for 30 years. It's the kids who come from the households where strict and don't tell us your feelings, and we don't care what you're feeling inside, and we don't want to hear about your, your sexuality or your questions about it. They come running to the to the acting classes and the theater experience to try to find out who they are.
Right. Well, it's a place where you can be accepted because of who you are.
Yeah.
And that's what I think we all just need to get in our brains. Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. And you won your Tony Award in Into the Woods in 1988, and a few years ago. We'll put that out there. And then so that was before the internet really took off. That was, of course, before social media. That was before all of and I was going to say before influencers made their way into Broadway, and I'm not saying that in a negative way. So listeners, don't come after me. That's a good way to get yourself known, But the industry has changed multiple times throughout your career in ways that I myself as a 44-year-old haven't experienced, and not being directly in it. So like thinking back to, even before 88, when you won your Tony Award, getting into that, and then like the progressions of things over the years, like what are some of the biggest things for you that have been like positives, and some of the things that have been like, I guess, surprising, that like, oh no, that's important now?
I don't know. What has stayed the same is that talent will out. What has stayed the same is good work keeps arising, is that there are still talented voices. It's been encouraging and mandatory that voices that have never come to the fore or had been overlooked are being heard. This is a positive change. I don't want to say that it's like a mandate, the DEI and things like that. Is like, it's not medicine. It's just what should always have been.
Yes.
You know what I mean? We're finally like where we should be with the diversity of all these voices. It's not just we're plugging you in. And of course, it's been demonized, of course, because it's not anything that certain people want. They want one voice, and it's a voice that they control. But that's not what the theater is. And I'm happy to say it hasn't stopped talented writers from writing. Mm-hmm.
Right. Is there something now in 2025? Right. I had to check myself on the year. 2025 is the year that we're in. So now, of course, you can become much more well known, I guess, faster, as if through social media and the internet and everything.
Yeah.
So
it's not the trouble is fame can be instant, and it can be based on just sheer numbers. And who decides what, and who decides, oh, that person reminds me of me, or, it's incredibly narcissistic, but it's also shallow. It runs about this deep in many cases. And that level of fame brings you things so fast that you will be stunted by it. Your growth will be stunted emotionally, and you'll fight now to stay at that age. You will not want to go into legitimate adulthood. I'm talking about younger people for whom this happens, and so you're famous for 15 minutes, as Andy Warhol said, and not even. And then you have to maintain it. And then everything is that's the line in Into the Woods. Once you've really had a moment, everything's a disappointment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If life were only moments. And so these kids live moment to moment to moment, and likes to likes to likes, and numbers, and all of that. And I think, and now you're going to get lost, because you will not recognize your life when that goes away for 10 minutes.
Right. And you're comparing yourself to others, which you shouldn't do. You're not being present. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to the episode. There's something that I realized, I remember, I kind of had this epiphany the other day. Not the other day, it was a long time ago, but I thought about it the other day, was that like child actors, related to what you said earlier about people want to pick you up where they left you off, right? Mm-hmm. Child actors, I feel like, are stunted in their emotional growth, exactly what you just said, because not only are casting agents and production companies and whatnot, they are known for being that child, and then as they grow into an adult, they're still thought of as a child. The public still thinks of them as that child, and so they're trying to stay in that childlike mindset.
Yeah, but many look, Neil Patrick Harris and of course Kieran Culkin last night, and the Fanning girls, Elle Fanning, Dakota Fanning, they've managed to age appropriately and let the work they are allowed to do be, commensurate with how old they are. And there are big success stories from the ones who started
sure.
really young. There are. But the ones who started young, who really were only just a flavor of the month, they disappear.
Yeah. I can see that. I wonder if that has to do with themselves or their parenting or their like managers, agents, whatever, because as a child, you have so many people that are telling you what to do.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if we have the answer to that here, but everybody's different. Yeah. I was really happy to see Kieran win the Oscar. Just incredible. So We Had a World is a very deeply personal story, and you said that you were just waiting for the right story to come along, the right script to come back to you so you could return to the stage. So what is it about this show that speaks to you as a person that brought you back?
Well, it's about a woman. It's Josh Harmon's story. It's taken from his life and driven by Andrew Barth Feldman, who is playing a character named Joshua. And it is this triangle of him with his mother, Ellen, played by Janine Sorrellis, who's heaven, and the grandmother, me. I am a grandmother now. It resonates for me. We have 9 grandkids. It resonates for me in a different way. My relationship with my son, my mother's relationship to me. Everybody's sitting in the audience at some point going, or have I got a story, or this reminds me of. It's the best role I think I've ever had.
Really?
Possibly. Yeah, I think so. And I couldn't have played it a minute before now. I had to be this old. She goes from 60 to 94. It's fantastically written. And I'm just I just kind of wanted to see what I had left in the tank. Do I want to go back and do 8 shows a week? And this one came along and I went, yeah, I do.
Has it been easy for you to do it because of the, or I guess full stop, has it been easy for you to go back to the 8 shows a week so far, given you're still in previews? So
far. I'll be taking a nap after we stop talking because it's my day off. Yeah, and I don't live in New York City. Chris and I live in Connecticut, so it's everything around that. It's the commuting, it's the being on Metro North, it's running to rehearsal, it's all that kind of stuff. But the actual doing of it is a joy.
Does it still energize you? Like when you're done with the performance and it's deeply emotional and you've poured yourself onto the stage, nothing's been left out there, and you're so exhausted, but yet do you still feel energized and a better person after every performance? Not
till the next day. Because all of us come off that stage, and of course we just fall into each other's arms, Janine and Andrew and I, because we are one organism, really, out there. We're just spent at the end of it. And we have to kind of unwind and wind down and go home and eat something and be quiet. But by the time, an hour before the show and things start to rev up and you put the costume on, then it's back. But it's its own metabolism. Mm-hmm. It's the way I've always worked. It's like I can't go out and just be in a loud place and eat and, I never could. And my job, in order to do my job, this is what I have to do.
Are you call yourself an extroverted introvert?
I am an extroverted introvert. That's nice.
Yes. So you can be out there. You can be out there and it's okay, but it's tiring. I get that. I get it. I am an extroverted extrovert. My wife is an introverted introvert. So we balance each other out nicely. But so many theater people, because they're quiet, they're socially awkward for one reason or another. But yeah, like we've talked about, they find their home with their cast, with their stage. And so, they feel comfortable finally letting themselves out, but everywhere else they're introverted, right? Yeah. The extroverted introvert. I really like that. But what do you do when you go home? Do you commute back to Connecticut, or are you staying in the city?
I have begun to, or many times during rehearsals. I've stayed in the city. I rented a place in the city so that I could be close to the theater and just kind of go put my feet up and make an omelet and, go to bed and not have to worry about catching a train or driving in. Yeah.
But do you do any mindfulness? Are you what do you do for your own mental health just to stay sane after something that's so emotionally draining?
I will binge a TV series.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Please tell me you're watching Severance.
I was watching Severance and I'm not up to date with Severance. No, I go to stuff. I mean, I will watch the movie Interstellar over and over again.
Yes.
I will watch Michael Clayton over and over again. I watch Reacher, the TV series Reacher, because this big guy is just like, I want a guy in my life who'll just go like smash somebody. just like take him out for me. I've watched, when I was directing the movie, I'd go home, I'd work on the shot list, I'd think about the day, and then I would just put on 30 Rock and just watch 30 Rock.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Tina Fey's great. I mean, yeah. So between the writing, directing, and performing on stage and TV and film, like, do they all have different places that are equally important? Or if you had to pick one, would you be able to?
I pick one as my favorite?
Yeah. Like, do you have a favorite child? In a career child?
No. Do I have a favorite? Well, for the doing, there's nothing that can beat the feeling I have now being on stage, being back in the theater, with all the history. I've had 50 years of history of being in the theater. But the thing about making a movie as the director and the writer is it uses everything you know. It uses absolutely everything you know. And you ask the most fabulous people to bring you their best ideas and to create stuff and to change your mind or to show you what you hadn't thought of. And that's pretty thrilling.
Yeah, I can see that. Like, kind of as the head, if you're directing it, you're the final decision maker, unless you and your producer disagree, but that's a separate thing. Yeah. So you're the head, you're the boss, you're putting it all together, and then to have a finished product, especially that you wrote as well, have a finished product that you can put together again to tell your story. I feel like that's got to tell a story,
right?
Through your lens, not colored by other people's, right? So I feel like it's such a satisfying feeling. Is it stressful at all, anxiety inducing, or is it just like, this is what I need to do?
You just got nervous. You just don't want to screw it up. That's all. I mean, it's just, what am I forgetting? What do I wish I had done differently? When you're finished, why didn't I get that shot? And why didn't I write that down? But every director I've ever talked to, seasoned or starting out, has had the same list of, but for next time.
Do you have a pinch me moment? You've worked with so many amazing directors, actors, writers, everything. What was the biggest pinch me moment you had? You're like, holy shit, I am here right now with these people, this person.
Yeah, I guess getting into the woods, getting cast into the woods. I would say that was a pinch me, being in the room with Steve and Jim Lapine. That was one. Working with Paul Thomas Anderson when you knew this kid was going to go stratosphere.
Yeah.
That was one. Certainly winning a Tony is a pinch me moment. I guess a pinch me moment happened when we finished shooting in the main location of my movie, which was created from an empty warehouse, a nightclub called the Grotto. And my producers brought in food and music and sparkling cider and whatever. And I just sat back and I watched everybody who's worked so hard create something so intensely magical and great. The cast, the crew. And I got incredibly emotional. I mean, the kind of mom in me just said, look what the kids have done, I felt, it's not look what I have done, it's like, look what they made, and they're happy about it.
Do you, looking back at your career, have talking about the kids and stuff, these kids that you work, like P.T. Anderson is this up-and-coming guy who just had made this movie Boogie Nights that turned into this amazingly phenomenal thing that then, of course, he went on and has had a great career. What makes you, looking back at that kind of stuff, I mean, specifically about Boogie Nights or anything else, was there something about him or the production or whatever you were just like, yeah, this role, like you said, this role speaks to me, or this person, their creative vision speaks to me, and I want to go with them on whatever journey I hope they're going to have?
Yeah, when you're in the room with people who are smarter than you, and it's exciting. So you just be quiet and just learn.
Fair. That's very fair, I guess. Looking back, though, is there like one piece of advice that you wish somebody had given you in your younger years, or when you're teaching now? You said you teach. Do you give a piece of advice to younger people now that are wanting to get into this?
I guess I just say, just watch out for your expectations, because they'll kill you. You have to just keep making plans and having no expectations. You plan to stay healthy. You plan to eat right and don't smoke. You plan to stay in touch with your family and your friends. You plan to be physically ready. You plan to be on time. You plan to be a decent and good person. But if you expect, by the time I do this show, I'm going to be famous. I expect to have 10 million followers. I expect to get the next role because of this. I expect that I'm going to win a Tony. I expect that I'm going to get a laugh here. I just think, but you know what? When your expectations are not met, what happens to your faith in yourself? If you keep making plans, when a plan doesn't come together, you can make a new plan.
That's fair. Well, what's your relationship with failure then, along those lines?
You fail. You're going to fail. It's Nick and Nora was a musical I did. Arthur Lawrence wrote it. Charles Strauss and Richard Maltby did the score. Pedigree. Cast, an A-list cast. And it failed. And it failed big and publicly. And you just go, yeah, okay. Well, I've been part of a failure, an epic failure. I did meet Chris, and we've been together for 34 years now. So that was the good thing. But the thing about failure is you need to learn something from it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't learn anything from just being Miss Thing and being fabulous, having people tell you you're fabulous.
You don't need yes people. You need real people around you.
You need real people.
Yeah. Yeah. And so after your Tony win though in '88, like I've heard it go both ways, that immediately some people were like, oh, this opened up doors and I had all these different opportunities. And some people were like, as soon as it's over, it's back to exactly how we were. And that you've checked that off your box, but you're still who you were and you keep going and it's still just as hard. So looking back, was it a career? I mean, it was a career defining moment, but was it a career changing moment?
Not really.
Yeah.
It maybe made it easier to be cast in Nick and Nora, maybe, for which I'm grateful. And it's an asterisk after your name, Tony winner.
Sure.
And that's great. It meant a lot. Means a lot. And what can I tell you? If it changes everything, I suppose that's happened to people, where it just suddenly put them very visibly on the map and then off they go. It's a way of shining a light. But for me, it's just been like, what's next?
Well, do you look for roles? I guess what kind of roles do you look for? Because your portrayal of the baker's wife was just so layered and heartfelt, and I mean, you're making choices in that character that set your performance apart from so many other people that have done it. So, what are you looking for in something that wants to demand the 8-show energy from you?
It's also about who's looking for that thing in me.
Ooh,
who's going to cast me? Who is looking for somebody who can illuminate those pockets of, variety, things that are funny, things that are moving, things that are intense? If they are looking for it and I come in front of them and I'm the one they want and it's a good fit, then I want to do it. If it's a utility part where you just have, some plot to carry, but you make nothing happen and nothing happens to you, you have to say, okay, is this a money job? Is this for the insurance? Is this, and I'm lucky I've been able lately to pick and choose. I want to be able to, what did I say the other day to somebody? I'm used to being offered the roles that are like the broccoli or the parsley on the plate, and I want to be the protein. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Finally, with We Had a World, there are 3 proteins on the stage.
They're equally important to making the whole meal. I like it.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So, but looking back, is there like a role that you turned down that you still think about, or when you almost didn't take that turned out to be meaningful?
None. And I look at roles that I didn't get that I auditioned for, and I think nobody could have done it better than the person they went with.
That's a great attitude.
But it's true.
Yeah.
I think I can't do what she did. I don't know what it's brilliant. It's perfect casting.
There's advice that I've been given that I think about all the time. It's like when you go onto the audition, when you're going into an audition, you have that role for those minutes. It is yours. You are there to bring yourself to that role, and if they cast you or not, it's about whether or not you're right for the role. And they want a good casting director or a good creative team is going to want you to succeed as much as you want to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And you might have 10 people that are all phenomenal, but it comes down to height, hair color, jawline,
Yeah, whatever. It's really, you have a 50-50 chance of getting it.
Yeah.
You will or you won't. It doesn't matter how prepared, how brilliant, how wonderful you are in the room. It's either going to be the thing they're looking for or not.
Right. Have you done casting? Have you been on the other side of the table?
I had to cast my movie. Yeah.
So you're involved in it that way. Yeah. So like, how do you tell people, like, what do you want to see when people come into audition?
Oh, well, I want to see that they get what they're reading, that they get what the story is, and they get what their part of telling the story is. Do you know what I mean? And then it is about, is it genuine? Is there a brain process going on there? Or is it a sound you're giving me? Is it rhythms that you've heard before from other people? Is it expectations, or is it a real person who understands what it is to be part of this story? Not your story. I'm not that interested in your story. Go do a one-person show. If you need to bring the role to you to make it fit you, then you're not being part of the story I wrote. You're not. If you bring yourself and all your talent to the role as written and you do it well, you'll probably get the part. I don't want an agenda. I don't want to have to serve your agenda.
That's
for all the things you think are your wheelhouse, and all the things you think are, this is my bag of tricks. It's what I'm known for. It's what I want to do. And I go, yeah, but it's not going to work.
Okay. So let me challenge this. And I agree with you, by the way, but for the sake of conversation, let me challenge this, because you said that your part in We Had a World, you couldn't have done until now. Now is the time in your life when you could do it. So if you're not bringing your agenda to the role.
I have no agenda. I have the powers of my observation, of watching my mother get older and watching my parents die, and what it is, my relationship with my mother. I'm not playing those things, but I understand what those are. And it's as Josh wrote it, he understands what that dynamic was, and I understand what he understood, and that's why it works. And I needed to be 74 and play this because I couldn't have played it at 64. And it wouldn't have been right anyway.
74. Shut up, Joanna. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. No way. I would have. Well, I didn't Google your age, to be fair, and I wouldn't have guessed that.
It's out there. No, it's just.
I know, but I wouldn't have guessed it. I would have been like,
okay,
low 60s.
Okay, thank you.
Compliment.
Yeah.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to the episode. Going into your the character in their 90s, though, is that tough to connect with that? Like my parents, my dad's health is failing. I'm dealing with like my own mortality in relation to that right now on a personal level in my world, right? So like going through what you've gone through in your personal life and now playing somebody who is aging 30 years, that's, from 60 to 90, that's a huge difference in somebody's lifespan. Like,
yeah, and I've seen it firsthand.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
Is that tough for you? Like personally?
It's tender. It makes me miss my mom.
Oh.
It also makes me wonder, how will I be at, God willing, if I get there, 94? What kind of 94 would I be? It's all those things, but those are off-stage thoughts. On stage, there are only the thoughts of the character.
Fair. Yeah. It's just like going home, especially if you've got the commute back to Connecticut, you're going home after the show, and like me personally, I replay that night in my head. I'm like, oh man, like how would I be like that? Or I should have done it. I look back like this sometimes. It's to my own detriment.
Can't do it. You can't do last night's show tonight. You can't. You can only learn from it, and you get notes. We get brilliant notes from our director Trip Coleman, who is fantastic, and notes from Josh. And if we had a problem with each other in a scene, we go over it. We do that kind of stuff, and then I get in the car, and I have a snack with me, and I put on classical music or jazz or some blissful station, and I just drive home, and I leave it at the theater.
That's some confidence. That's some experience talking right there. I like it. All right, so we're gonna wrap up a little bit here with the episode and wind down with plot in 60 seconds, which is a little game I like to play. All right, and if you don't know any the popular musical theater, you can just make it up.
I don't. I know nothing.
Okay.
Truly, I know nothing.
What is your favorite musical? Well, we'll let you cheat a little bit. What's your favorite musical that you would be able to tell the plot to moderately well?
Well, my favorite musical, I love A Little Night Music.
Okay.
I love Sunday in the Park with George.
All right, so which one of those two do you want to give me the plot to in 60 seconds?
Sunday in the Park with George.
All right. So, you ready to go? Sunday in the plot with George. Sunday in the Park with George. In 60 seconds, and go.
60 seconds.
A musical
remaining.
about the great artist George Seurat, who is famous for pointillism, which is all the dots. And a main character, female character, played by Bernadette Peters brilliantly, and Mandy Patinkin also, was named Dot because she's just part of his story. Everything he did was just part of his story, but then he wanted you to see the whole. If you focus on only what's little, you'll miss the whole, and that's part of the story of his life. He was maybe undersung in his lifetime or later afterwards, but he was brilliant. It taught us to see things in a different way. It did teach us to zero in on what makes something beautiful, because blue and red together are blue and red, but if you pull back, it's purple. And the world is purple.
All right. In 40
Time
seconds.
left over.
I'll take it. I will take it. All right. I love that so much. Okay, so the 3 standard closing questions I ask to wrap up all the episodes. The first one just simply is, what motivates you?
Connection. Connection between and among human beings.
What advice would you give to your younger self and younger people listening now, starting out down a similar path, which we've talked about a little bit, but...
Be kind. Be kind. To myself, I would say, I would give no advice, or I would have changed the path and I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you right now. But to young people, I say, just be kind and listen. Pay attention.
Put down your phones. Just for a minute.
Put down your phones. Get off the screens. You're losing the world.
And get off my lawn. All right. Last question then. If you could only see one show for the rest of your life, but you can see it as many times as you want, what would you see?
The Band's Visit.
Oh, did not expect that.
Ah.
Why? What about that show?
Small, intimate, beautifully crafted, beautifully written, beautifully acted.
I love that. All right. So are you on social media? Do you play that game anywhere?
I am. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, and I'm on Blue Sky. I don't really post all that much. It's mostly me sitting there going, yep, I agree. Yep, repost. Yep, I agree.
Yeah, that's about the same.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a stress. It's a stress I don't want to have to put out content all the time, but
No.
we do anyway. All right. I am on Threads and Instagram and TikTok and Facebook myself. Leave a rating and a review wherever you are listening to this podcast now. Thanks to Jukebox the Ghost for the intro and outro music. And Joanna Gleason, it has been an honor to talk to you. I am
Thank you.
so happy you joined us.
It's been a good time. You're good at this.
Thank you.
Take a deep breath, make the world a little colorful.